he was just threatening to kill people. He was threatening to go to jail forever, go to jail for the rest of his life. And now where I'm on the ground with him, I'm on my back in a very vulnerable position. If I just would have let him go, now he turns.
Why is that a vulnerable position?
Well, if I just let him go, I'm on my back now. He can just turn around and start doing what he said to me. So
Killing,
hurting. I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. Like, this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable. And I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed.
There are still men out there, rest assured. Joining me now, Liz Collin, journalist with Alpha News, one of the good ones out there. Liz, okay, obviously it's a great thing that Daniel Penny is a free man. It's a great thing that men like that still exist to protect women and children in this society. But Daniel Penny is hardly made whole, having been put through a public trial. I'm sure he'll need security at some point now because of the animals in the streets that are going to be after him. That's not justice. Just an acquittal is not justice.
Yeah, we heard some of that messaging yesterday, right? Calling for vigilantism in the wake of all of this, property damage, perhaps, things that would be worse. But you really saw, in this case, the manipulation that was happening with different people. Their stories had changed by the time they took the stand, the medical examiner being one of them. And really so many similarities to things that we've tried to uncover and expose over here at Alpha News for years when it comes to the 4 officers that took the fall for George Floyd's death, Derek Chauvin, of course, in particular. But you do kind of think that perhaps this is a new day, that a lot of this can be exposed and people can accept the truth for what it is, and really see how this justice system has been weaponized against so many.
Liz, obviously you were all over that Derek Chauvin trial. I understand he's getting a new attorney. I'm pretty sure I know where this is going, but if you wouldn't mind, speak to some of those similarities you see, because I saw them too. It was laid out crystal clear how evil, legitimate systems have become in this country in certain places.
Yeah, the latest developments with Derek Chauvin, we actually just had a recent conversation with him from prison. Keep in mind, he was stabbed 22 times about a year ago now by a former FBI informant who had just a couple years left in his prison sentence. But he has a new attorney now. It's a 15-page petition that so far has been filed with the court, basically talking a lot about this medical evidence. And I think that's where the similarities happen with Daniel Penny. Keep in mind that you have no strangulation marks on George Floyd, no asphyxiation, and there's these meetings that are happening behind the scenes in the days that follow George Floyd's death with the medical examiner that at first the word homicide doesn't even appear on George Floyd's death certificate on the actual autopsy itself. And in fact, there's some information now about a paraganglioma, a tumor that George Floyd had that can be fatal in many cases, that Dr. Baker decided at the time not to test, even though some medical experts came forward at the time and said this needs to be tested, this can lead to death. Dr. Baker brushed it off and did not do that. And these medical professionals tried to get that information, even to Judge Peter Cahill at the time, and that was ignored. These are things that Chauvin himself was not even aware of until about 2023, according to this latest filing. And we've uncovered many conversations that took place. Dr. Baker saying, well, what happens, if my findings don't line up with the public narrative? This is the kind of case that ends careers. Really talking about that pressure he was under in this case. So I think so much more of that will come out, and I think pretty soon here in Minnesota.
Liz, I realize you're not a trial attorney, so I'm asking your opinion on something, but just given what I know, lots of it from you, Derek Chauvin surely is not only going to get out of prison, someone's going to stroke that man a fairly large check, I would assume, right?
You know, the thing is, people think, Trump will be in office again. He can just be pardoned. Well, this is a pretty complex legal matter because we have a state sentence and a federal sentence that are wrapped into this. So President Trump would really only have so much power here. His new attorney seems to think that asking for a new trial is perhaps the best route here. Many people agree that Derek Chauvin did not get a fair trial in the end. This is a jury that was not sequestered. This takes place in Hennepin County, where buildings had burned and people had died in days of rioting, the worst rioting in history. So how could someone like that stand to get a fair trial? Also, George Floyd's family awarded $27 million during jury deliberations in Derek Chauvin's trial, something that I think people forget about as well. Just this immense pressure that's taking place right there.
$27 million for those dirt balls. Tell me about Minnesota now. What's happened to Minnesota?
Yeah, so we that's the reason we went ahead with the documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis. I mean, it's called that for a reason. Pretty sad what has transpired here. Police department depleted, skyrocketing crime that continues. And we also have a new sequel to The Fall of Minneapolis that I hope people will watch. Something we did not want to do either, but these dots, it seems, reporters don't connect. So this is called Minnesota versus We the People. You can actually find it on Alpha News, alphanews.org, or also thefallofminneapolis.com. You can watch it for free, but it's about a 50-minute documentary. Jesse, we've had 5 first responders murdered, die in the line of duty in a 13-month time period in Minnesota. And of course, it is connected to the lies that took place beginning in May of 2020.
How's it connected, Liz?
Well, it's this danger, this lies, and the lawfare that police officers, especially in Minnesota, have been the front lines and receiving here in this state. The good guys becoming the bad guys, and our corporate media has helped to push this dangerous narrative from the very beginning that's not backed up by fact. And ultimately, people are paying the price for these politics in this state.
Liz, what kind of a blowback has there been against all this evil? We've seen places like even California. I realize it's still blue. It got redder in New York, even though it's still blue. It got redder. There's very clearly some sort of an appetite, even in blue places, to push back against all this defund the police stupid stuff. Are you seeing that in Minnesota, or is Minnesota just freaking gone?
Yeah, we saw a lot of that pushback, actually, in fact, which is included in this new documentary. There's a Minnesota State Trooper, Ryan Londrigan is his name, charged with murder yet again in a high-profile incident. But finally, you have community members showing up to the courthouse. They're wearing T-shirts in support of Ryan, members of law enforcement, retired, current. He basically followed his training the night that a man was shot and killed on the highway, but yet they're trying to, put him behind bars for life for following that training, basically saving his partner's life. It's a case that I hope people will watch again in Minnesota versus We the People. But you saw the people rise up in that situation, and you had murder charges against this state trooper dropped. And I think there is a connection. People, their eyes have been opened, and they are pushing back.
Good. Minnesota versus We the People. I hope people go watch that. Liz, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.